Welcome to our Detailing Podcast, episode number 294. Thanks for listening.
Fellow auto detailers, welcome to the show that features interviews with today's most successful auto detailers. This is the Auto Detailing Podcast. Here's your host, Jimbo Balaam.
All right, welcome to episode 294 of the Auto Detailing Podcast. Hope you enjoyed that little intro. For those of you that have little ones at home, that was actually my daughter. This episode is, wow, what an episode. I was contacted from the guys up at Jay Leno's Car Care to come up there and do an episode with them to talk about their car care line. And to be completely fair, I wasn't sure what to expect. I've seen kind of the hoopla going around the industry with kind of a lot of people giving them crap about the product, probably because, or I know now because of the Jay Leno brand or the Jay Leno name. People just thought it was just crap, kind of relabeled and put together, and I was pleasantly surprised. I met two awesome dudes that I now consider friends, and Chris and Jeremy. The verdict is still out whether they consider me a friend or not, but I got to go to Jay Leno's garage on a day that they were actually filming at the garage, and did a private tour with just me, Chris, and Jeremy, and my friend Greg, who asked a question on this episode. So thanks for Greg for battling the traffic with me. We spent over 3 hours, almost 4 hours total in traffic, getting to and from Jay's garage, but it was well worth it. So after the private tour, I sat down with Chris, and we talked about the Jay Leno brand, the Jay Leno Car Care brand, and he's really the marketing mind behind it. Him and his friend Jeremy, who have been friends for a long time, are kind of overseeing the whole car care brand of things. And these are just really two solid dudes. Come to find out, we don't live that far from each other, so that's why I say I really, really hope that we can maintain this relationship with them, because they were just super cool dudes. Anyway, in regards to kind of car care and looking after your car, obviously you're listening to this podcast because you care, and maybe you care about Jay Leno, which is cool too. But also, I want to talk about auto fiber. And, this past week I've been really kind of looking at microfiber towels on Amazon and through other companies and stuff like that. And the one thing that I took away is I've been doing detailing specifically for about 10 years. And I get super confused by the offerings of either other companies or Amazon or whatever of what towel would be the perfect fit for me. And then I went over to autofiber.com, and what I really loved is that Ian puts kits together to make it simple. So it's like almost like microfiber towels simplified, which is really my style. Let's just get to the simplest part about it. I don't need a million towels. I just need the towels that are most effective and efficient and work. So that's one thing I really like about auto fiber that I realized this week is the efficiency and how simplified they'd make it. And we took it even one step further and simplified it even more in creating the Jimbo kit. I went through Ian's inventory and kind of curated my own package to eliminate the confusion. So if you want, you can get 20% off at autofiber.com, or you can pick up the Jimbo kit, which I'm seeing around on a couple of these Facebook groups. Guys are really, really enjoying. So a couple extra scrub pads for you and all that at autofiber.com. You could pick up the Jimbo kit or pick up just a single towel if you want to try them out, and you don't want to spend that much money. Get 20% off and free shipping. All you got to do is use offer code Jimbo. I hope you enjoy this episode. Episode. I'm losing it. I better cut out this intro.
Bye.
Episode. And there's my little one saying bye.
Hi.
Turn this on silent. All right, welcome to this episode of the Auto Detailing Podcast. We just left Jeremy. Actually, Jeremy ditched us, but we still got Chris left from Jay Leno's Garage Products.
I'll have to suffice, I guess, right?
He didn't want to be here and be stuck in traffic forever.
Yeah, he's trying to get done a little bit before we got to traverse the LA traffic from Burbank to Orange County,
right. Cool. And we got Greg here. If you decide to chime in, Greg, you can
chime in, Greg, where you feel necessary.
Sounds good. But we just did a full-blown tour of this garage, and man, what an amazing place to work, huh?
Yeah, it's unique. You can't, for a car guy, it's what I grew up kind of restoring cars. you can't beat this.
Yeah, let's get into that. I like to hear kind of the story behind, obviously you just don't knock on the door to Jay's building. First of all, which door do you knock on?
Yeah, exactly.
Second of all, you're not just going to knock on a door and get the gig of maintaining these cars. So kind of what's your history with cars to get you to where you are at this point?
Yeah, definitely. I grew up with my dad. He was, a line mechanic before he was a cop with Ford. And so I grew up, I had a 53 Chevy pickup when I was 13 years old. I kind of restored cars all through high school. I was big into Volkswagens, was my main thing, air-cooled vintage Volkswagens I got into. And just have always worked on cars, from whether it was mechanical engine type stuff, rebuilding engines, was always in auto shop and all that, but always had this history and this, or at least a love for the history of cars, and just drawn to kind of vintage cars, working on them, all that fun stuff,
So this really is a dream come true for you.
This
is the ultimate.
Yeah, you can't beat this. I mean, you walk in and it's kind of everything. Although Jay doesn't have any vintage Volkswagens, so maybe I know,
and only
that.
one Porsche.
Yeah, well, he's got a few Porsches.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's got that 356. He's got the one that's being
that's
painted
true,
now,
right?
And he's got the GT as well.
But compared to everything else he's got, it's like
yeah. So
thanks.
Got to spread a little bit of the love.
Yeah, no bug or no bus, no nothing.
You'd think, but sometimes you see him on the episodes. But for me, it was a dream. But it was going from that, being in my high school auto shop, to where I am today. That's there's a lot in between there. Jeremy and I have been doing this together now. I've been part of the business for the last 5 years, but I've known Jeremy since we were kids. We grew up. His dad was my football coach. We played Little League together. We didn't go to the same schools, but grew up right down the street from each other. So we've known each other since we were, 7 or 8 years old.
Okay.
Jeremy and his dad had the business originally as System 1. Yep. That was, compounds and polish. Really, they were focusing on a single-step system.
And it was really cutting edge at the time, because this is early 2000s. I remember System 1, early 2000s, single compound, double-sided pad. I think it was even a blended wool pad at that. And they had this contraption that you put on a DeWalt rotary that you could flip the pad over really quickly. And so I remember that was very, very cutting edge at the time.
That was brand new, and that's what they were really focusing on.
In fact, didn't McGuire's Solo one come out after that?
Afterwards.
And wasn't there maybe some and I don't know how much you know, and I know nothing, but I remember kind of hearing some controversy about like this Solo one, System 1
And I
thing.
won't say we spearheaded that movement of a single product system, but it came out, and a lot of folks kind of paid attention to what was there, and the abrasives that were coming out then were brand new at the time, and everyone was
very cutting edge.
Yeah, so everyone was kind of tuned into it. They wanted to see. I mean, so much so, it's not just McGuire's. It was really in the pad technology as well.
Okay.
We used to purchase those double-sided pads from a manufacturer back on the East Coast.
Okay.
That double-sided adapter that went on the pad, that was unique. That had a patent to it.
I remember
it wasn't
that.
ours, but it was our pad manufacturers.
Right.
Well, big name 3M came in, purchased that pad manufacturer, and now if you're familiar with 3M's line, they've got those double-sided pads.
Yep.
It's not wool and foam on the same pad.
And they even went blended with the rotary pad with, I think, the burgundy, or maybe that was McGuire. I don't remember, but okay, cool.
Yeah, so they grabbed that quick disconnector from our pad manufacturer. So some of the things that System 1 was doing in the early days got mimicked a little bit, and not saying again that we were setting the trend or anything like that.
But you were.
But we were there doing this stuff.
So did that screw you guys up when 3M buys the?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
so was that a big component of what happened with System 1? Was you couldn't get your, because that was a big part of it. The double-sided pad, the quick disconnect thing. That was a huge part of it.
That was a big portion of it, and that definitely put a stick in the spokes for us. Wasn't the end of the road for us. We found some things that worked really well. Buff and Shine does a very good job at making pads. They have a good interface system.
I've sat down with Richard myself, so I know them well.
They do a very good job. They're great friends of ours, and so we've really relied on them for pad stuff for the System 51 business in the past. They helped us kind of fill that gap right away immediately. So that did throw a bit of a wrench in it, though. But the business, everyone kind of took in that single step system, looked at it, but that's great for kind of the DIY guy, the at-home guy, when you're not so worried about speed and how quickly you're processing jobs out. But for the guys in the professional body shop, their big thing is cycle time.
Right.
And there's no money allocated from the insurance company to detailing. There might be a few bucks there on the backside time-wise, but it's not anything substantial, not anything that you're going to spend extra time trying to polish.
Right.
So that was kind of the feedback that we got, and that's what kind of ushered in some of the changes. This is a great polish. It finishes well. We can cut with it too, but it's nowhere near as aggressive as a cutting compound that's designated for that.
Right.
So if you're taking your time and you're doing a concourse level job and you don't want something super aggressive, that original System 1 stuff was great for that. But the System 51 stuff that came in, and not to make this about System 51, we'll move on quickly from that, but that's kind of what ushered us into this, and that was the change. Was we went from a single product system to a 3-product system. We developed a cutting compound, a medium grade, and then still utilize that original System 1 formulation for that finishing polish. And that helped us be more effective in the body shop as far as the System 51 business went. So, but while that was all going on, we did a couple of demo videos with Jay.
I remember those.
So, and Jeremy was part of that. And from that really kind of kicked off our relationship with Jay in the garage. We stayed involved from
What
there.
year is this, you think?
Man, I forget what I said on Matt's
maybe like
podcast.
2008?
Mid 2000s, 2006, 2007, 08, that area there. That was where the big switch happened, but that's also kind of when Jeremy started getting involved with the garage and just staying in their ear, We always, we played sports growing up, so we tie everything back to a sports analogy a lot of the time, but the idea was stay around the ball. In football, if you're around the ball, doesn't mean it matter if you're on offense or defense. If you find the ball and you just run towards it, stay around it, something's going to happen. And so we kind of took that approach a little bit. It took a few years. Jeremy was leading the way on that. He got involved with Jay, had at the time an in-house detailer.
For being so confident in pursuing Jay, he ducked out on our podcast.
What the heck, dude? I know, man. It's his problem. Well, the problem is work's got to be done here. There's a couple warehouse buildings full of cars that need to be cleaned, so we can be here till tomorrow afternoon if we want to. But that was what kept him, that's what got him involved, was that kind of demo video. And then he stayed involved. They had an in-house detailer that was his job, was just to maintain the appearance of the cars. And as you can imagine, everyone wants to tie their product name to the garage.
Absolutely.
We were on that same boat, So it was a friendly relationship. We would come every now and then, drop some product off, see how they were doing, see if he had any questions, if there was anything we could help with. All the while knowing that all the McGuire's reps are stopping by, the Mother's reps are stopping by. Everyone's here. Jay's got a whole shelf full of pretty much everything that's out there car care wise. So,
and probably non-care car.
Exactly.
Seems like he saves everything.
He's got pretty much anything car related.
You could probably live here if you just had a steady supply of food.
Exactly.
You could live here.
You don't need anything. There's power. There's a shower. There's couches,
kitchen,
nonstop. But that was our biggest thing though, was just if anything, kind of get him used to our stuff and like our stuff and use it. And so that was a few years worth of doing that back and forth. And then Jay ended up parting ways with the in-house detailer. Not real sure what happened there, not too worried about it, but they
really not worried about it now.
We weren't asking any questions,
Doesn't matter.
We got the phone call one day saying, hey, we no longer have a detailer here. It's been about a month or so since anybody's touched the cars. Do you have anybody you can recommend? And at that point, I was now involved with System 51. That was kind of right when I started with the business. And I looked at Jeremy and I said, I know we don't necessarily detail as part of our business model, but guess what? We do now.
We do now.
We'll go out and be detailers. And that was our first detailing account that we picked up. Prior to that, we were solely focused on just manufacturing product and fulfilling kind of that warehouse distribution model. So that really kicked off us as, let's bring in detailing as part of what we do. And I think a lot of guys do that nowadays. You see a lot. I know there's a few local companies here that they have their product, but they also offer the detail service. And I think it does well for some guys, if you're able to do it, it's awesome. And so that really is what started us. We came, checked everything out, of course saw how big everything was.
How many cars is there an exact number or a rough number? Because I'm sure it's changing. But
it's growing. It's ever growing. I think the last count was somewhere in the 175 to 190 car range.
Right.
Yeah. I might be off on that. I know once you get past 5, it's considered a lot. So there's plenty.
And they're all different shapes and
sizes and all sorts of stuff in different states as far as their appearance and what they need and what we're okay to do on and so on and so forth. So to make a definitely a long story short and kind of try to wrap up some of this that's what kept us in that's kind of how we started off, rather not kept us in, is that's where we.
But you were part of the conversation that was going, and so when they had a need, you were around to step up and fulfill that need, maybe in a way that even some of the other brand reps couldn't, because I don't think McGuire's has a detail team that they send out that
they're going to send out and cater to what the needs are.
So I think you guys had that unfair advantage in that sense that you were maybe a smaller company didn't have that brand recognition, but you had the agility and ability to fulfill a need that they had, and that was the open door for you.
Yeah, and we capitalized. Not to pat us on our back. This was always a pipe dream for us. Was to be able to do some sort of to get a brand name onto us. It would to bring that spotlight. Like it's such a hard uphill battle. It's such an impacted market.
Because you're dealing with ginormous monsters too.
And to try to go to bat with some of those guys, something was going to need to change, or we were just going to have a very long road ahead of us. Not impossible, but not the easiest road, and
expensive.
So expensive. So we kind of looked at some opportunity there. We saw Jay's Garage as the ball. Let's be around it. Let's take the opportunity. It doesn't matter. And something that, and I don't know if you're familiar with him, he's friends of the Garage, but Adam Carolla, he does all his stuff.
I've never heard of him.
Yeah, never heard of him.
Have you ever heard of him?
If you're into podcasting,
I'm not sure.
No one's ever heard of him.
Yeah, never heard of Adam Carolla. Only the number one podcast.
Right? But I grew up listening to him here, again, not to get too far off on a side subject, but I grew up listening to him here in part of even on Loveline on the mornings when he transitioned to his podcast. It was part of the recurring theme that he would always say, and everyone would always ask him, how'd you do it? You went from this kid in the valley here in Southern California to now you're on the Man Show, you're doing radio, you got your own podcast, all this stuff. And this whole thing was do work for free, especially when you're starting out.
So funny you say that. I tell detailers that all the time, especially when you're just starting out.
Yeah.
Obscurity is your biggest problem.
Exactly.
No one knows who you are. No one cares who you are.
Yeah, you're going to have to make a name.
You're going to have to make a name, and you got to do that somehow.
Exactly. And so, and that was always, for me, listening to that growing up, I mean, it was a huge influence in my life, just listening to that stuff. And so that was always kind of a driving force for me, especially with this, is it was like, okay, we're not necessarily the most established in this marketplace as far as having the authority. People don't necessarily know who the System 51 brand is outside of Southern California. There's people who know us here, so, but it was trying to kind of get all of that together. I think I lost my train of thought.
Yeah,
but
it's okay. Go
Actually,
ahead,
I want to chime in.
Wait, you're going to chime in?
Yeah,
I do. I heard something interesting. I wanted to know, because it kind of relates to my business too. I wanted to know how, the transition was when Jay first reached out wondering if you guys had a detailer.
Yeah.
Not having really any detail experience, was there pushback from him
Now,
about that transition?
So we had detail experience. That's not to say we didn't have
any
detail experience. We definitely had detail experience. I had detail experience from growing up.
Okay.
And then we had the experience from creating the product. We've got to do the R&D.
Right.
We were in the body shop. As much as a lot of detailing, hardcore detailing, is in the polishing.
You know the
that
application.
machine polisher, yeah. So that was, we knew that like the back of our hand. I learned on a rotary polisher, and if you know polishing, rotary's kind of the scalpel, where nowadays the new technology, the dual action's the learning curve is a lot less. So I kind of cut my teeth on that rotary. So we had the detailing knowledge though, and that was, that's why they came to us, is they knew we knew detailing. But as far as what we did to make money on a day-to-day, Jeremy and I with the business,
just products.
Yeah, it was simply products. We didn't have that. We didn't offer that as a service to anybody. So yeah, that transition wasn't too difficult.
Pushback,
They trusted us in that fact. But the point that I was getting at prior to that was, the transition of coming in here is we started, and it was, Corolla talking all the time, work for free, get people to know you, build that notoriety. Right. And then if you're doing a good job, you might be busting your butt and not making any money at doing it, but if you're doing a good job and if you're really good at what you think you're going to be doing, and it won't last that long, and the paydays will start coming, and maybe not necessarily huge, tremendous paydays, but guess what? Get you in. And that's really what happened for us. Is we came, we just kept our head down, didn't screw around. We just came, made the cars look right, and kind of just stayed around the ball in that sense. And then kind of, hey, you guys are doing great. You come in once a month. We need you here more frequently. And then sure enough, the talk about payday came. Like, you guys are coming frequently enough. We'd like to pay you. You're here. We rely on you. Let's get you paid. And so that kind of transition to it being this tester to we like you to, okay, now this is, we just brought on a customer, arguably one of the biggest customers in the automotive world. Right. So that was like, whoa, that was a huge win for us. And we did that for, I don't know, a year or so, maybe not even that much. But again, the private label, the doing it with Jay's name was always kind of that pipe dream. Okay. Like, let's do it. And again, windshield time, the drive from where we're at to Burbank is about an hour and a half. So Jeremy and I, every week, we're talking how awesome it would be, man. Right. We know how to do product. We know how to run websites. We know how to ship product out. We'd love this opportunity to have Jay's name on it. It's going to bring attention to our brand, and really don't even care about bringing attention to our brand. Right. Let's build a brand. And
that's been and I think you did a good job talking about kind of, because there is some speculation of like, well, what is this crap?
Yeah, who's doing it?
Who's doing it? And that was the big takeaway that I got from Matt's podcast. Yeah. And I would encourage people to go listen to the podcast that Matt did with you guys in Obsessed Garage. But, I think that's a smooth transition from the System 51 brand to the Jay Leno brand. Yeah. And that makes sense, and I think people get it, and they're like, okay. And for me, when I listened, it like broke down a wall of like, right, because we were just talking about a brand that, they have a bigger name, not in the car care space, but they have a bigger car name out there, and they hire on the wrong people and maybe bring in not subpar brands, and then they're here for a year or two, and then they're at Walmart on the half off rack and selling for $3 a bottle. And obviously you took so much energy, effort, time, sweat equity to even get here to be able to present Jay with the opportunity to say, hey, why don't we do this kind of collab together? So I think that you guys went about it in a really, really smart way.
And we weren't trying to do, and this got kicked around in the beginning, is what do? Do we launch a brand name? We license Jay's name, we slap the name on it, and we put it on Walmart's shelf, and we do it. And not to say that it's that easy. There's a lot more said than done in that statement. But to make things simplified,
sometimes it is that easy.
Is that how? Is that how we go about this? Do we want to just strictly go consumer? And from the System 51 business, we know very well that even with a strong brand name, it isn't just a light switch and people are going to accept you. And you've got to establish yourself in the marketplace as an expert. And people, they know Jay as a car guy, but they don't know Jay as a car care expert. So we knew that was going to be an uphill battle. And if it were going to be successful, if we were going to do things and have it last and have it stick and not be one of those brands that falls off after 6 months and you see it on the shelf being discounted, slashed, buy it for $1 a bottle, whatever it is, we knew we were going to have to establish some groundwork for that to be, number one, people to try us. There's a lot of brand loyalty in the car care space, understandably so. When you find something that works, especially if you know car care, you know how much stuff that's out there that is, for lack of a better term, crap. To be able to now, you have stuff that's actually legitimate. That is, was the biggest thing for us, was to kind of break down that apprehension for the consumer out there to say, this is just a money grab. Jay's just throwing his name on the bottle and we know nothing about it. Jay's not. I know my McGuire stuff. I know it works. That's what I'm going to use. That's what we have to combat. And that's why are we going to go straight to the shelf? We're only going to end up here. We've got to do some groundwork here to explain the story, that this isn't just Jay licensing his name to some chemical manufacturer who can bottle it and throw it out there. I mean, we are a chemical manufacturer, but we're a small-time chemical manufacturer who has focused on eco-friendly blending and water-based formulations and trying to, there's a lot of replication in this industry, but there's a lot of things you can do that differentiate yourself. And so that was always the biggest thing for us. And we wanted to carry that over into the Jay brand, is give it a real fighting chance, not have everyone write it off, is give us a try. We're putting the best possible chemical in for what we feel, for what it does. We're putting that in the bottle, and we know, we guarantee that it'll work. We've got 100% money back guarantee. Give us a try. You're going to love what's in the bottle type thing. But we had to do it this route and start smaller. So we launched our own e-commerce website. We launched it under Jay's brand name and just went that way with it. And we're here now. We're about 8 months in. We launched.
I was just going to ask, when you launched about 8 months ago?
So Black Friday is when everything went live. We started with a small basic 4-piece kit. We've now expanded. I think we're coming into now 26 different chemicals. A lot of the stuff we had blended and already kind of set up. We knew what the mix designs were going to be. We just needed to have a label to put it on. So we've got that. So we were able to move pretty quickly there. And so this first year has really been that, is we started November. We wanted to test the market, see how it went. So we launched with a 4-piece kit. That did very well, was received very well. We definitely got some pushback and some flack. I think nowadays with social media is you're giving everyone a microphone, everyone a platform, 100%. And so everyone, regardless good, bad, or indifferent, has something to say, and they can make their opinion heard. So, and I think it's a good thing, though, from that standpoint, is we can make adjustments as people see things, they don't like it, they do like it, or we can make quick adjustments in that sense. So it's a good positive thing. But it was received very well, and then we kind of looked and said, well, looks like this is a real business. Let's light the fire underneath it. So we're kind of in that product development mode now. And we've got a lot of cool things coming up. I mean, we've got now abrasives with buffing pads. We've partnered with Rupes. So we've got a lot of great things coming up. Really looking at this to be a one-stop resource for people who, not necessarily going after the professional detailer.
I was going to ask, who's the market? Who do you want to? Obviously, you wouldn't mind the detailer trying it and testing it out, but who's the target market?
The consumer, the guy, the DIY guy who's doing it at home and might take things a little more seriously than just a bucket and a wash. Who is has a kind of disconcerting view on like what my car looks like. I want to take a active role in how that happens. We've talked about Obsessed Garage a couple of times. I think Matt has built an awesome community of those type of guys who they're not professional detailers necessarily. A lot of them have their own jobs doing their own thing, but they like detailing cars, and I think it's it's therapeutic on some level, you know. So
Totally.
you know, to get down that rabbit hole, but those are kind of who we're going after. Like you said, getting that professional detailer, getting that buy would be great. We think they're chemical that can stand toe to toe with anything that a professional is using. But you know, that's even more of an uphill battle for us. You know, again, those guys are even more loyal to their brand because they're...
You're fine. You could come over here.
Their bread and butter is relying on it, you know?
Do you have a question?
Yeah.
All your stuff is over there. Do you want me to put it somewhere?
No, you're good. I'll go clean it up.
Okay. And they just got back in there to film.
Did they? Okay. Is there anything in the way that we...
Put it like off to the side by that statue thingy.
Okay. Cool. That should be good. I'll go clean it up.
Okay.
You're done though?
Yeah.
Alrighty.
I mean, as far as I know, if I miss anything, I'll come back because I really don't know what they needed for the video, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. And
They're like all left in a hurry because they were going to a shoot.
Okay.
And they forgot to start.
Yeah. Lucky you. Okay, so I'll call Corey and touch base, let him know kind of what we shot, and then if anything needs to change, we're here next week.
Okay. They should all be pretty generic shots or blurry if it's like a single car.
Yeah. Okay. Right on. Thank you very much. Drive safe.
Can I leave that in?
You can leave that in.
Okay. Did you have a question, Greg?
No, I was saying I'm that guy you're talking about.
Yeah.
DIY. I like to put a lot of sweat and tears into my car, but I'm not a professional detailer like Jimbo. So I'm exactly what
we're
that
going
market's
after.
for.
Yeah. And that's really what it is we wanted to have solid chemical that can go toe to toe with anybody in the market. But you know, something that's a little more friendly, that isn't so intimidating. And I think Jay lends that to kind of that detailing crowd. I think there's a lot of guys out there who, you know, might be doing kind of what you're doing, where they're working, but they like the idea of detailing. They've seen a few videos online, and I think I could do that, especially now with the polishing technology. It isn't so difficult anymore to achieve. It's not easy by any means. It's still a lot of time, a lot of effort, you know, not to take anything away from anybody out there that's doing it for a living. But the barrier of entry is a lot lower than it used to be, you know. 100%. So and I think Jay kind of lends that to us.
Looks good.
Hi guys.
No, you're fine. So where do you see the I said background noise is good because I love kind of, you know, if someone's listening to this, you know, they got their earbuds in, they're listening in their car or something, and it's like to get the background ambiance and interruption and stuff like that. It does bring a very cool element to it, which is why I like using just the small recorder instead of like headphones and mics for everyone, because then that limits the background noise, and I feel like it kind of can kill the vibe.
Yeah, anyway, you lose some of that.
Yeah, you lose some of that. So where do you see kind of what's the next few steps for the Jay Leno brand? I want to go there, and then how can people buy it, and then we'll kind of wrap up.
Yeah, cool. So the next steps right now for 2017, our biggest thing is really get the brand of chemical up, and as far as, you know, have an offering in each of these categories that we can compete with the rest of the guys out there that are in this market space. And I think you guys know the brands, but there's a few of them out there that centered on that e-commerce market, that e-commerce model rather, not market, and that's what they focus on. And so we're going to farm this now as that. This first year is really getting our feet up underneath us. We've proved to people that it's legitimate. We've gotten a ton of reviews on our website of people who have tried it and just they love it. Cool. Go gangbusters for what they have. So we want to continue that. But our biggest thing right now is getting the line as a full offering, tools, accessories, and everything. I mean, we're looking at clay mitts right now. We're looking at, you know, even just clay just by itself, clay bars, you know, everything. We want to have the tools there. You know, some of the stuff is pretty much the norm in detailing. So we want to kind of get us up to that level. And then, you know, next steps, we do want to bring this to retail. That definitely is a goal of ours. So we're probably, you know, about another year away from that, I would say. We're looking at some options right now, and that's even with Jay's name, that's still going to be testing small markets and making
sure. You're trying to lay down the right foundation first, and then you can build all those.
Exactly.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, because the last thing I want to do is tarnish Jay's name.
Right.
This isn't. We knew going into it that it, again, wasn't going to be accepted wholeheartedly.
Right.
There was going to be apprehension. There was going to be a lot of naysayers. So we wanted to combat that before it turned into a firestorm and engulfed everything and sunk it before we even had a chance to
say anything.
Exactly. So that's been our biggest, one of our bigger drivers of this first year is just brand awareness.
Got it.
Getting people to understand that Jay now has a line of chemical, and it's actually very good. Let me give it a try. I like to wash my car. I like to detail my own car. I want to give it a try. I know Jay is a car guy. That's kind of some of our internal thought is, Jay is the car guy. Jay wouldn't put his name on something that was, half-assed, really. And
you guys actually use it in the garage. I saw as we kind of walked around each one room, there was always a cart close by
full of stuff,
with the stuff, so that it's not like you're using some other brand of chemicals. And I know that was quite a conversation with Matt's podcast. And I thought you held up pretty well, not really revealing anything. But really it is the Jay Leno line of car care products that you guys are actually using.
And you know what? And I'll talk about it here too. That's not something that we're worried about. This has been a conglomerate of kind of things happening, and we had our business here, but there were some things that we could do better. Again, we were more focused on warehouse distribution, so the e-commerce distribution and running an e-commerce site, we had knowledge, we had our own site, but at the volume that we were about to step into, we were like, let's look at somebody who maybe has done this before. And so that's where the Adams brand came in, is they had a proven model of an e-commerce brand that they were able to, this is some of the things that you guys are going to need to look out for. These are some of the things that we've done. Adam has been, to the garage a few times and had a previous relationship, I think, a few years ago.
I actually have a phone conversation with Adam on Monday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm trying to get him on the show.
That'll be cool.
He's a tough guy to track down.
Yeah, man. He's nonstop busy, dude. He's if he's not in Colorado, he's at some car show going and just nonstop. So they've got. Those guys are excellent guys over there, and they really were pivotal in helping us.
I'm going to throw your name out. I'm going to be like, dude, I just met with Chris and Jeremy. So.
So, and really, from an operational standpoint, there's no blending between the two brands in terms of cross-contamination or anything like that. The blends are our own.
It was basically a back-end deal.
How do you get the bottles in the boxes out to the customer when you've got 300-400 orders in queue? It's one thing if you can do it once, but you need a repeatable process. And so they were pivotal. We needed to move quickly, and instead of trying to learn by doing it, let's learn from somebody who's kind of already done it. And here's some of the road marks.
You basically got a mentor for the business.
Exactly.
Just like detailers go to training or any of that to learn the process, not to have it done for them, but to have the process down.
Exactly.
What it is.
You lead a horse to water, and what you teach. What's the saying?
I always get confused.
The old adage.
I don't know.
It's got to be your bull, something like that. I forget, but you teach a man to fish, and he'll eat the rest of his life. Type thing is the one we were going for.
Yeah,
so
I hear you.
But that's not anything that we're afraid of. There is a lot of question out there, and we try to stay on top of it out on social media of anybody who is asking, and we appreciate the questions. We're not against them. It was something we did choose some similar packaging. Again, that was really to help support the e-commerce side of the business. Round bottles are much easier space-wise to ship.
I bet those questions and concerns that you're getting are coming from detailers, because I just have a thought that Greg here, who's more of an enthusiast, maybe isn't going to try to make that connection. He probably doesn't even care.
Exactly.
He just wants a product that works and that he likes. So I have a feeling that the disconcerting detailer is the one giving you guys crap about that. As I would. I mean, I would put myself in that camp. I'd ride you a little bit on that. But
And I would probably be doing the same thing too if the shoe were on the other foot, if I weren't the one running this business.
But you guys aren't ducking from it either.
Exactly. So we're not trying to hide from it. We're not trying to, it is what it is. We're not, you can go find the information if you want to find the information, if you're so inclined to do so. But and this isn't a bash on the Adams brand or any of the other brands out there, but I've got a whole group of friends that like clean cars, but they aren't as into it as maybe you and I are. Or us three are.
Right.
And when I say, hey, have you guys ever heard of Adams?
Right.
Who's Adams?
Right.
Have you guys ever heard of Chemical Guys?
Right.
Who's Chemical Guys?
Right.
They know McGuire's. They know
Right.
Mothers, because that's
100%.
the stuff that's on the AutoZone shelf. That's the stuff that's on the
100%.
O'Reilly shelf. It's what they learned with. That's what I learned with.
Right.
Those are the brands that everyone. So
100%.
your point is absolutely there, and 100% is there are people who definitely know the difference,
Right.
who are much more in tune to the different brands that are out there, what's available, what makes them different, so on and so forth. And those people can probably spot some similarities more readily than somebody else. But
even if you can,
yeah,
does it even matter?
Exactly.
And that's always my argument is like, does it work for you?
Yeah.
Who cares? That's, guys will bash Chemical Guys up and down, and then I'll have a customer that loves it, and the customer goes, well, am I using good products? And my answer always is, do you like them? Mm-hmm. And if they say, yeah, I'm going to say, then yeah, they're great products.
Yeah.
It's all preference.
Yeah, so much of it comes down to personal preference on what you've tried it and you like it.
Right.
I know a lot of detailers, professional guys who, you know what, they make their own concoctions. It's
100%.
compound 1
Yep.
mixed with a little bit of polish 2 and a little bit of glaze here, and man,
Right.
that's my one step, and
Yep.
I finish everything with it.
Right.
It doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. That's my thing. It, I think, is very much the same thing.
Right.
People may not be so much of a bathtub chemist at home,
Sure.
but they try something, they like it,
Right.
and if it works for you, if it's getting you the results that you like, then
Go for it.
Go for it.
Who
You
cares?
know, what matters what it says on the bottle, whose name is
100%.
it, so on and so forth. So, that aside, we want you to definitely go to lenosgarage.com and buy Leno's Garage products,
Of
but
course.
use what makes you,
Right.
makes you happy. Use what works for you. And if you're open to trying something, that's kind of all we're asking is, hey, give us a shot. We're here. You won't be disappointed with it. We're here to stay, and give it a real solid look before you make any kind of.
And that's what I
judgments,
always suggest to guys is like, just try it.
Yeah.
Just try it.
What are you going to lose?
What are you going to lose?
Exactly.
Don't become the dinosaur.
Yeah.
Just try it. If you don't like it, don't use it. Don't buy it again.
Mm-hmm.
Because you guys aren't looking for the one-time buy anyway.
No, we
we
want people. People. We always said this even from the beginning is that Jay's name will sell the bottle the first time.
Right.
But what's on the inside is going to get them coming back
100%.
the second and the third time. So that's always, again, I've said it a few times. Just sitting down here today is. Quality's huge for
Right.
us. It's got to be the best in there that's in the bottle. We can't have anything
100%.
that's halfway there. And like you're saying, give it a shot. You really don't have anything to lose. We've got our money back guarantee. If for some reason you got it, you hated it, send it back to us.
Right.
We'll cut you your money back. We're not trying to tie that to you. The lights are turning
The
out.
lights are turning off on us.
As
So
we speak. We got to make more movement.
Any last words you want to say, or any
No,
last
really,
plugs you want?
I think you had asked where they can get it right
Yep.
now. Online is what we have. We've got our website, lenosgarage.com, no dashes, nothing crazy. LENOS garage.com.
Cool.
You can also get it at autogeek.com. They're one of our partners.
Cool.
They've got everything. So it just depends on what your preference is, but head over to the website, sign up for our mailing list. We're always putting out awesome coupons.
Nice.
Biggest thing is we want to incentivize everyone to try it. So we've got a couple cool monthly kind of mystery box type things that we do that
Cool.
make it nice, but you can follow us on Instagram, Lenos_garage. We're on Facebook as well. If you look up Jay Leno's Garage Advanced Vehicle Care, we're there. You can come find us, but you can get to everything from the website. So, but yeah, check us out. Give us a try.
Cool. Well, I appreciate the tour and taking the time. I know you got a trek to head home too, so
You
the
guys
later
do
you
too.
get out of here, the worse it gets. So we'll wrap this up. But I really do appreciate you showing us around and taking the time.
Thank you guys for coming out. We really appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, hope you guys enjoyed that episode with Chris. Again, big thanks to Chris and all the people that made that happen over at Jay Leno's Advanced Vehicle Care. Check them out if you feel inclined to. As you can see, I'm still here. I'm still here with the little one. Anyway, check out autofiber.com. Check out the Detailers Inner Circle. That is just extremely popping right now at detailersInnerCircle.com. For those of you that are in it, thank you. And I will catch you guys on the next episode before my daughter steals the mic back from me. All right, catch you guys there. Bye.